Comedy Film Festival. We have Portland Comedy Film Festival Fall 2022 coming up in November at the Clinton Street Theater, which is near downtown Portland and is a nice artistic spot, a zone in Portland that's got a lot of history and a lot of charm. It's a great place to watch movies. When you come to the Portland Comedy Film Festival, you see a variety. You see everything from funny music videos to dark comedy, horror comedy, sketch comedy, stand-up comedy, you name it. You're going to see all kinds of comedy. And of course, one of those types of comedy is a romantic comedy. And we are going to talk to a couple of people today about Aaron with two A's. We got actor Steve Lichtenstein and director Michael Goldburg to talk about this film that has been nominated for the Best Romantic Comedy Film Award. Welcome. How you doing?
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. This is a pleasure. You know, I'm seeing a familiar face from the screen. Steve, I'm looking at a star, and we've been going back and forth on email for, half a decade here. So it's good to talk to you finally in person. We are very proud to screen this film. What are people going to see when they walk into Clinton Street Theater in November? What are they going to see on that screen, Steve? What's the synopsis of this?
They're gonna see Aaron with two A's. Actually, it's a story kind of based on me, but Aaron starts his second career at the age of 65 as an actor. But when he finally manages to land a major career-making role, he finds out that he's his own worst enemy as his inner doubts threaten to derail his lifelong dream and his marriage.
Oh. All right. Doesn't sound very romantic, but
it's funny.
Well, it's romance of love of his own acting and the underlying need for his relationship. So in that regard, I think there's a certain romance for older people, particularly pursuing their dreams.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, I was teasing a little bit. It really is a great introspective film, but you did it in such a funny way, and you can reach people with messages through comedy. I think you're very effective at doing that, and an excellent performance. And I'm going to stay with you just for a moment, Steve. Good job on this.
Thank you.
Taking this role, what was your inspiration, or when you took this role? And I know you said it was partially based on yourself, but I mean, you have to get yourself in a certain out-of-body experience frame of mind to become this character. Talk about that. I
was a co-writer on it and executive producer. And so from the beginning, before, like 4 years ago, when we created the whole thing, I knew the character and I knew the piece inside and out. Like I've never known anything before, because I knew all of the script from beginning to every nuance. So by the time that I was on set, what was really interesting to me and what was fun about this was I had questions coming to me as the executive producer from time to time. I had things going on that I was thinking about. So it wasn't in my head, as Aaron, I wasn't in my head all that much. I was able just to be in the moment the way you want to be. And that was exciting. And the role was scripted out of something personal. So I related to it in a great way. So, it sort of found me, is the way I look at it.
Excellent. Moving on to you two, Michael. You see this project. Were you one of the co-writers on it? Were you in the development process at all on this, Michael?
Yeah, I originally came on as a director and then also became a co-writer as well.
Okay. And what is it about this story? Why did you want to get so involved in this specific story?
Well, I had heard Steve talk about it for a while before I got involved, and just his passion for it was really infectious. And what he was talking about going for with the film, like not only was it a personal story and it was a story about an artist, an actor, but also about just somebody who needed to learn to get out of their own way and get out of their own head. And I just felt like, I can definitely relate to that. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Non-artists, actors, like anybody can relate to that need to really get out of your own head and your own way. really resonated with me because I feel like everybody has a little bit of Aaron in them, either a little bit or a lot. So that just really struck me. And then also the other like related theme of going for your dreams at any age. It's not too, it's Aaron's not, anybody can. And then being in an industry that like has an emphasis oftentimes on youth and beauty and those kinds of things, somebody going for it when they're older is especially inspirational. And so it was just all those things kind of combined, and Steve's passion for it really drew me in.
All right. Well, coming back to you, Steve, let's talk about from a technical perspective, since you wore so many hats, from beginning to end. Did you learn anything on this film?
Oh, can we talk? Yes. Did I learn anything? Learned a lot of things. One is not to spend so much money, but the second thing is,
Uh-oh.
well, it was a 35-minute film when we started editing, and so it got down to 17. And Michael allowed me as well to be in on editing and the music, the color, and valued my input. And I just want to say he's a fantastic director. Has always had a great set. He's a pro's pro, and I don't know. He brought this to a new level because COVID. There were a lot of things that happened, but COVID happened before we were going to shoot with another director like a year before, and then we got to revise the script and made it a whole lot better within that year. So there was something good came out of it. But I guess the first thing for me that I learned was not to try to do a feature in a short. That was the first thing. And I think that has a lot of ripple effects. But there were a lot of things I learned to come to realize myself that needed to be done. Technically, I mean, it really has helped me as an actor going through all these phases and understanding a lot more now than I probably did before in a very personal way. So, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, that's the only, I advise anybody who is creative to do something of their own film or be part of a film where they're take a larger part, because you'll become a better actor, better writer, whatever, if you do that.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Michael? Technical perspective, production wise, I mean, this has been a journey. Going from 35 minutes to 17 minutes sounds like a journey in itself, just in post. But you can talk about anything you want. Anything you learned on this production that maybe you'll take on to further productions as a learning experience or anything?
Sure. I mean, a lot. I think every project that you do, every film or show or play, whatever it is, like I feel like you learn a lot. And I mean, a couple of things that just popped out was I came on board kind of late in the process. It was still going. We were still in pre-production, but I didn't come on until later. And Steve had actually pretty much as the EP and the main writer, it was like he had already done a lot. He had already brought on a crew. He had brought on most of the cast. So as a learning experience for me, it was like a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm a writer or a co-writer, and I'm the director, and I'm also one of the producers. And so I'm also doing all that. So it was interesting and novel to like jump on a production that already had so many moving parts already together. And so it was really about adapting, staying flexible, adapting to a lot of people I hadn't worked with before. I think on the shoot, I brought on the assistant director. And I think besides that and Steve, I didn't really know or I knew maybe some of them a little bit, but I hadn't worked with them. And a lot of them I didn't know at all. And so that was just like, all right, that was a great learning experience. Just like being thrown into this situation and being, flexible, versatile, very fluid, but also like still being the director on the set. So that was just a great experience. The other thing I would say was working with Steve. Steve is fantastic in the film. And I knew it was going to be good, but as a director, it became a bit of a challenge because he's, just in terms of our relationship, he's the main actor in the film. It's, based on his life. And he's the co-writer and he's the producer. And so in terms of directing him, it was sort of going through those layers sometimes to and plus I've worked with Steve before and I'm friends with Steve. And so it was really kind of like peeling off these layers of an onion to really get to the performance sometimes, where it felt like it was easy to get lost in some of those layers for me, just speaking for me personally, as a creator, and having to kind of, dive down to the emotional truth and what are we trying to do. And even if it's based on his life, maybe we're doing something different here, or this scene's a little different than his life, and how is it different, and what are we trying to do? So it was just staying open to all that too. Those were two big things that I learned, and there were other ones too, but those are two that come to mind.
Can I say something, Michael?
Sure, of course.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that when I brought Michael on board, I knew I had great faith in Michael that he could deal with all those new people, and that the chemistry, because we had great chemistry before he came. And I knew from working with Michael that they would love him, that they would respect him, that he would earn their trust. And I believe by the end of the whole thing, everybody wanted to work with him again, and cinematographer, everybody. So, it's also due to his personality and the way he is that it was a success.
Thanks, Steve.
Wow.
Back at you.
All right. Well, let's talk about the future a little bit, and I can stay with you on this one, Steve. The future of this film, pilot, series episode, proof of concept. I don't know. Where's it going?
All the above. No. It was interesting because I had always thought, well, maybe I'd do a feature after this about it, because it blew me away that how well received it was. And I always wanted it to touch people. That was the whole point. But I never understood that I wasn't that unique, and that other people actually feel the same way or about themselves that I did. But I wanted this to do that. Somebody suggested, well, why don't you make it a series? And we started thinking about it. It's like, you know what? That probably would be a good place for this, because there's a lot more you can put into it. So it is something that we're exploring, is doing this as a series. And we'll see. As far as myself goes, I just completed I had a part in a feature film with a bunch of names, people, and a scene and so forth, and that was cool. And we've got some projects, a couple of projects that we worked on that are kind of in development.
Okay. Michael, the future.
Well, I'll talk about Aaron with 2A's a little bit too. It was something that was one of the things, even when we were writing it before we even started shooting, it felt like it could be part of something bigger. And one of the challenges was squeezing it down into a short. And it did, it essentially did feel like it could be a proof of concept for something bigger. It has some of the comparables, sort of tonally, stylistically, it feels a bit like the Kaminsky method. Other things we've talked about, like the film Sideways, the Paul Giamatti character, even has a little bit of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David. So it feels like it has legs. And once we got it out on the festival circuit, and it's been doing really well, and just seeing how it resonates with people. And a lot of people come up to us after the screenings and talk about how much they see themselves in the character and the themes, more so than either of us thought. I think Steve thought it had the power to do it, but we didn't really know it until we actually got it out there. And then I have had some producers specifically say that saw it, were like, have you thought about developing it into a series or a feature? And we were like, yes, we have. So that's definitely something on our minds. And then just with myself, one of the films that I brought previously to Portland Comedy, Surefire, that is a proof of concept. And that did really well and got a lot of attention and traction. And I'm developing it both as a feature and a series. I just got back from the Catalyst Content Festival in Minnesota, which was great, and essentially screened the proof of concept as a pilot, and that went really well. And I'm developing a couple of other features and some series too. But those are, you know, I won't go into details, but Surefire is one of the ones on the front burner.
Well, I've got your contact details in the description of this video, so people can reach out if they want to learn about more of your projects. But it sounds like both of you have a lot going on. You put together something really special for us. You make us look good on screen, and so we appreciate that. So, is there anything else you want to add, Steve, before we go?
Thank you. Thank you for the selection. Very excited about it. Thank you to the judges in Oregon and everybody who saw fit to nominate us for the best comedy short. That I'm over the moon with it, and really appreciate it. Like I said, I wanted this film. I always wanted this film to be quality, and to touch people's lives, and hopefully make an impact. And I know it's a short film, but the more people that see it who relate to it, it's just that's great.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Michael, anything before we sign off?
I would just echo what Steve said. Thank you to you, Michael. It's great to see you, great to meet you, even virtually. And thank you to the judges in Oregon and you for having us. It's great to be a repeat filmmaker at the festival. I think, as we were talking about earlier, I think this is the third film I've had with Film Festival Circuit, so that's exciting. Yeah, thanks, and thanks for selecting Aaron with 2 A's. We're super excited to be a part of it, and for the nomination too. That was really like a nice feather in the cap. That was really special, and thank you for that as well.
Appreciate it. Well, the film sells itself. It was an easy selection for us. So keep going out there on the film festival circuit. Keep making good stuff, and have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Take it easy. Bye.